Times Now has accessed the confidential report that specifically indicts weapons from Russian makes who have been labelled as non-performers, and defense sources say despite multiple requests, the Russian suppliers have been silent on these expensive dud missiles. This information is part of the report that Times Now followed up, which details how our soldiers have been riddled with expensive dud weapons, both procured from abroad and developed indigenously. Now, to give you a better idea of what we mean, the first troublemaker is the Russian Uran missile, a naval anti-ship missile which has been giving India a lot of problems. Defense sources say that the components used are of low quality and the Russian suppliers have not zeroed in on any real reason for its non-performance. Also on top of the dud list is the Russian-made Klub, an anti-ship missile system that has a range of 220 kilometers. India was the first country to have that missile. One version of the Klub has had very poor results. Joining us is our senior editor Srinjoy Chaudhary, who broke this dud report here on Times Now. Srinjoy, is any action being taken against the Russians? Why is it that we haven't heard from them? Why is it that despite the strong indictment, there are no questions being asked of the Russian suppliers?
Well, the Russian suppliers were told about the Uran again and again and again. We have to remember that the Uran came about 10 years ago and it was riddled with problems. It's a very important missile. It is on most surface warships of the Indian Navy, or it was at that time. And it created enormous problems for the reasons that you rightly said. The components were not that good, and when India went back to the Russians to explain, for an explanation on why things were not as good as they were, the Russians did not respond for a long time. We hear that things are finally turning around and things could be better in the future. As far as the Klub is concerned, it's a more sophisticated version. It has a longer range. It can be fired from submarines and also from surface ships. But again, it has problems. At least one version of the Klub most certainly has problems.
Right.
And that is what worries the Indian government a lot.
In fact, we got a reaction from the Navy chief earlier today where he tried to play down the entire report the Times Now had exposed.
It's not a difficult problem, but it's an organizational issue. Because unlike in many other societies, many other countries where one can go directly to the equipment manufacturers, here we have to go through an in-between agency. That agency may not give the job to the yard that might be best suited to, or the manufacturer might be best suited to. So we have a little issue over there, but we have lived with it for many years. The ships are doing quite well and we are managing.